We have a major update on the Boston Bruins trade situation going down with the New York Islanders with the 7th overall pick, as recent reports have revealed that the Islanders are not done yet with Noah Dobson. We're going to be breaking that down, as well as going over an article from the 4th period and David Pagnotta detailing some new targets the Bruins have to take a look at in free agency and new details that have been revealed. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to break down here today, continuing for our second video of the day with more news continuing to come out. You're not going to want to miss the stuff that we have to bring. As I've mentioned, every video, we have so much stuff coming, you won't want to miss it. You're going to get it here first. Before we do get into this, though, at the time of recording this, we're currently sitting at 7,028 subscribers. Your guys' support's been absolutely incredible as of late. I appreciate everybody watching this video. And you know the ultimate goal of 10,000 is only around the corner. I know you guys can do it and we can hit it. But let's get straight in this video. We have no more time to waste. I wanted to start pulling this one up here first with a little going over, I guess, of the idea with the Noah Dobson deal, where we currently stand with the Islanders. We know a few days ago, there have been reports that the Islanders were looking to go into terms and into talks with the trade with the Boston Bruins involving the 7th round pick. And Noah Dobson has been one that a lot of names have been coming up. Currently without a contract, is an RFA, will not be an unrestricted free agent, and things are looking very interesting on that side of things. And I want to pull up here our first little screenshot or a little article a bit from David Pagnotta and the 4th period. And it says the Islanders GM Matthew Darche is engaged in ongoing contract negotiations with Noah Dobson's camp, and the preference is to get a deal done. But multiple sources have told the 4th period the club is still exploring alternative options via the trade market. Now, we know that when we're taking a look at this 7th overall pick, the Islanders have verbally said they are in on this. They want James Hagens, and with multiple reports coming from Craig Button and from Bob McKenzie, that 7th pick is potentially where James Hagens will go. I think there's no idea that we can say for sure just yet. There's been so many reports. We've seen some reporter Martone is available at 7. There's a lot of moving parts there. But if the Islanders really want James Hagens, if they want him bad, a guy like Noah Dobson could be the option in a trade to get back, to make this deal actually worth it for the Islanders. And I've been mentioning for you guys who've been watching these videos since the beginning of, this little bit of off-season talk that we've had, that if the Islanders were really looking to get the 7th overall pick, there are 2 names that I would really only be interested in getting from that Islanders team. JT Pajot is not one of them. He's been a name that we've seen linked to the Bruins multiple times over and over again. He's a depth center, that's about it. But Noah Dobson or Matt Barzal are really the only 2 that I think would be enough value to be able to confidently trade that 7th overall pick to the Islanders for the Bruins if they're looking to actually get into this rebuild or retool, whatever they're trying to do right now, because we know they're in that kind of idea, just don't know what they want to call it yet. Those 2 players are really the only options that I would be willing to go. And I'll pull up Noah Dobson once again. Last contract was $4 million. Now, this next one going to be a bit more, but he's still only 25 years old. A right-shot defenseman, 6'4". He has every asset to be able to show that he is a star, number 1 right-handed defenseman in this league. And pairing him behind Charlie McAvoy, a guy who is a little bit older, has more experience, of course is on Team USA already for their Olympic roster. He's a guy that you can learn very, very well behind. And we spoke about Erik Karlsson in last video. That one I think is completely improbable. I think it's very, very tough to even justify. But a guy like Noah Dobson, although he is on the depth chart of right-handed defenseman number 1, he is certainly someone that could be a very good defenseman for this Boston Bruins team. And when we kind of go into it, though, he's going to be making a boatload of money. He's looking at $8 by $10 million. And now that's a very interesting thing the Bruins could still tackle. Don't get me wrong. They're sitting at $23 million right now. Would they be comfortable giving $10 million to a guy who will be behind Charlie McAvoy for at least majority of the season? They're 2, not exactly the same style of defensemen, but 2 still very good defensemen, and they're 2 number 1 defensemen. So that's one thing that, is a very uncertain piece for this team. However, Noah Dobson still is being entertained by the Boston Bruins. There's no doubt about that. And when we do take a deeper dive into his stats over the past few seasons, this year was a bit of a down one compared to the last 2 years, last 3, I would even be willing to say. But in 23-24 with that Islanders team, 79 games, 70 points. We saw the real Noah Dobson then, and of course, he's a guy that can put the puck in the back of the net. 13 goals is his highest, 13, 10, and 10. He's not a guy that's just going to go out and pile up your assists, but he is a guy that can very well do that, but that's not his only asset that he brings to the table. So I want to know what you guys think about Noah Dobson. I think he's a very interesting player to kind of throw out there, and especially with what we have on the updated side of things here, he's a player that I think the Islanders, if willing to trade, the Bruins need to get involved with. But I kind of got to go on to this here as well. I want to pull up kind of the idea of where we come from. And this comes from yesterday, I believe. I don't know. No, earlier today. Sorry. Elliot Friedman. I think the Islanders are looking to acquire another high draft pick. And this is something that we've spoken about. They're looking to get into that James Hagens territory. They want Matthew Schaefer. They want Hagens. They want their hometown guy. It makes sense that if they want him that bad, they will be willing to kind of pay up a bit more than what he's probably worth or whatever that pick is worth. And I think that this is why the Bruins really need to jump in here, maybe earlier or on draft, when they're on the clock, if they want a guy like Noah Dobson. So let me know what you think there before we kind of head on to the next one, because I think that, it's a tough thing to really kind of justify $10 million, having him come in, sit behind Charlie McAvoy, not necessarily play behind Charlie McAvoy, but he's a defenseman a lot of teams are going to be in on. I think that it may be a little bit of a bidding war. That's why you have to get in your favor of the Islanders, give them what they want, that 7th overall pick, if it comes down to it. Let me know. Are you comfortable with doing that? But we have to move on. There's new details revealed into some new names that have been in the target for free agency for the Boston Bruins, and David Pagnotta tweeted this out. Coming from NHL Rumor Report from David Pagnotta of the 4th period, of course. The Leafs, the Oilers, the Jets, the Bruins, and the Kraken have Andrew Mangiapane on their radars. And, of course, coming from the 4th period, once again, a little bit earlier today, some new news coming out. And Andrew Mangiapane is an interesting one because he is a player that, although has been kind of, I don't want to say around the NHL, but he's been with a few different teams at this point. He's been someone that has not really found a necessary home just yet. He's a player that over these next few years probably will be a bounce around kind of bottom 6 type of guy. In 81 games, 28 points, just around 13 minutes time on ice, 29 years old. He's a guy that is going to be a depth forward. Now, coming out here, I'm looking at a guy like Andrew Mangiapane. He's a very interesting take for this team, as we know we have a lot of young players that are coming up. They acquired a bunch last in the trade deadline, and Andrew Mangiapane would be a guy that could, not necessarily teach these players, because I wouldn't necessarily go out and say Andrew Mangiapane is a great, the number one player you want to kind of model your game after, but he's been a very consistent player in the NHL. I think that's the big thing that we have to take a look at here and go with, because as you see over the past few seasons, 40 points, 43, 55, 32, 32, with Calgary, and after that, when he left Washington last year, didn't have the greatest of years, but with Calgary, he was a very consistent player, and he's someone that, from a 6th round pick, can certainly show some of these later picks, the way of breaking into the NHL like this and keeping a consistent career going. And I think that's what a lot of the Bruins players and, younger draft picks that have not yet made the NHL kind of need to expect as well. You're not going to be in a lineup right off the rip of your NHL career. You have to earn that spot. But as a kind of depth forward, 29 years old, and the experience that he's had, not just with Calgary, but even with Washington, with a completely different style of team, he found that success there. And I think this could be a very interesting look for the Boston Bruins, if they do, of course, choose to go out and get a guy like Andrew Mangiapane on the free agency side of things. And that 2 by $3.8 million, this could be a contract that you give a little bit to get what he brings. It's not probably worth a $3.8 million contract. I think that's a little bit extreme. But looking at how he's been able to come out here, do that in his NHL career, and keep up a 50-point total in a bottom 6 really, that's a pretty solid depth player. If I'm coming out here and saying that willingly, I'd be okay with giving him that. Maybe I think that is not a priority for Andrew Mangiapane, but he's someone that has been able to show once again that he can really roll with whoever he's with, and as Calgary has kind of shown him, he's been able to do a lot there in a bunch of different roles. So could be an interesting look as well. Someone to watch out on, but once again, not someone I'm too favored upon if he is, a top priority. I think there's a lot of different ones right now that the Bruins should go out and target, but someone to definitely keep an eye on. And as I kind of just mentioned, with the forward core that this team has right now, and the young forwards that are coming up here, it's an interesting look to kind of go about here and say where he would fit, if he would fit, who's going to be gone, if anybody's going to be gone, if a guy like Zacha is going to be traded. There's so much stuff going down with the Bruins that it's only a matter of time until we find out. So let me know what you think here in the comments below about that. But that's all I got in this video. If you did enjoy it, give it a like, hit the sub button. Remember, we're on the road to 10K, the big goal there, but we know we can do it. But you got a lot of news coming. We're going to have it right here. You won't want to miss it. But that's all I got. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.